Good morning, everybody. My name is Alain Renard. I work for Cefic, and well, I put Manager Reach as a title, but I'm more especially working on IT aspects, meaning ULIC5 and Reach IT, and on the authorization and restriction regimes, but I was asked to jump in for making this presentation. So I hope that it will bring you a nice overview. In our today's agenda, we'll discuss three main points: the state of play regarding the 2010 registrations, a few challenges, but main challenges, and then a third point on the directors' contact group. First thing, the state of play. So you can see on the screen that we have nearly 2,700,000, a bit more, pre-registrations submitted. This is as of 21st July 2009. And of course, some pre-registrations still occur, but not so much. From surveys by ECHA and industry, the current estimate for 2010 registrations are nearly 4,400 substances. And linked to those substances, ECHA expects between 28 and 35,000 dossiers. And one of the latest figure, which was announced on the 14th April, so and it is a weekly published figure, is the number of substances which are covered by a nominated lead registrant. And you can see here the figure is 2,448, so compared to the 4,400, there is still a big gap. So, well, ECHA is still willing to hear and is currently trying to contact the CIFs where no lead registrant has been identified. If we have a look at the process dossier in 2009 and 2010, you can see, so for 2009, there are 4 different types here of dossier indicated. So OSII is for on-site isolated intermediate, TII is for transported isolated intermediate, REG is for registration, and PPORT is for the R&D substances. So you can see that for the whole year 2009, nearly 700 dossiers were accepted. And you can see that the technical completeness check processing failure percentage was nearly 30%, which was quite high. Now, if you look at the number for 2010, the current figure of the dossier accepted is 484. But what is very interesting is, in fact, the fact that the TCC processing failure rate is much lower. So you can see 9% compared to 27%, which means basically that industry is progressing on learning and how to submit dossier correctly. So these figures are from the 7th of April and the sources from ECHA. So this was for the state of play. And if we go to the main challenges, we'll have a look at 4 different points. First of all, the CIFs, then the dossier submission, the question of the expert scenario and the chemical safety report, and some other challenges ahead. So the CIF, you all know, I guess, what it stands for, but I will still tell it again. So it's Substance Information Exchange Forum, defined by Article 29 in the regulation. So it is aiming to facilitate the information exchange for registration purpose. Some other features are agree on the classification and labeling, provide other participants with existing studies, react to requests, collectively identify needs for future studies, and arrange for such studies, meaning cost sharing and agreement on which studies to be performed. And something which is important to bear in mind is the fact that each CIF should be in fact operational until the 1st of June 2018. And we like to stay beyond because we don't expect that everything will be just finished by this date, unfortunately. And some things that, well, I don't know if you're aware, but we always like to stress it and to highlight it each time we make a presentation, is the fact that there are information that needs to be separately submitted, meaning each registrant, each legal entity has to submit it in its own registration dossier. And this is the identification of the registrant and of the substance, the information of the manufacturer and use, and for the lowest tonnage band, the exposure information. Then there are information that needs to be submitted jointly, and you perhaps know the classification and labeling, the test data summaries and robustity summaries, plus test proposals in Euclid 5 format. And something which is triggering a challenge is what is optionally, jointly, or separately submitted, which is the guidance on safe use and the chemical safety report. Regarding the chemical safety report, as you have seen in the agenda, I will discuss about it later in my presentation. Currently, well, there are sieves which are quite advanced in their work, but there are sieves which are almost starting their work. And to address these different things, CEFIC has developed model agreements for these sieves. And here you can have the list of those agreements. So there are the consortium agreements in order to describe what are the rules between the most active legal entities in the consortium plus the lead registrant. There is what is called a cooperation agreement. It's a consortium light type of agreement, meaning less long but still keeping the most important features in the document. And it is among what we call the lead members of the sieve. The third agreement is a sieve agreement, and basically the lead registrant has to be empowered by the members of this, let's say, sieve leadership team or consortium, and it is a bilateral agreement between the lead registrant and all the others which are not in the structure covered before. And the last type of agreement is the data sharing agreement. And again, CEFIC wishes that the lead registrant is empowered to contract with the legal entities for data sharing here, data holders or legal entities not in the leadership team or consortium, or even with legal entities that are outside of the sieve in case of read across. So all these model agreements are available on the CEFIC website. Some key rules or some key things to not to forget during the sieve work. First of all, if you are a lead registrant, then you must consult the sieve for your nomination, and you have, in theory, to be elected. And this has to be, let's say, documented. Of course, in the sieve, the initial thing is to agree on the substance sameness, and CEFIC provided a substance information profile template to help in this purpose. The third bullet point is, for me, the most important one: document everything, because if there is any trouble after dossier has been submitted to ECHA, well, if you had all the documents, all the evidence, all the proofs that you have made your best to comply by the law, it will help. So make sure to document everything and keep it safely. As a lead registrant, you should keep the sieve regularly informed and be aware of the deadlines. And well, if you're a member of the sieve, you should remind the lead registrant if you don't have any information, and you should have some communication. The efficient invoice and payment system is especially true for when the registration deadline approaches. It is mainly for the payment of the letter of access and to make sure that you can compensate the active members which built the dossier in time to receive the information to be able to submit your dossier to ECHA on time. And so this is the first part within the sieve and in industry. But as well, when you will receive the invoice from ECHA, because you submitted your dossier, you have to be quick in paying this invoice, because without the paying of the ECHA invoice, your registration will not be seen as complete. So please make sure that an efficient and invoice and payment system are in place in your companies. The last point is something which is a bit controversial, I guess. It's the agreement and the communication on the scope of the joint submission. Main question, does it include a chemical safety report? And I fear that at the beginning it was perhaps seen as a good thing sometimes to make it in the CIF just one CSR on behalf of the whole CIF, but some questions occur regarding, for example, what about if a worst case situation is analyzed and if, for example, a legal entity is working very properly with a higher standard, perhaps he doesn't want to have his use described with the worst case condition. And there are plenty of issues raising, and of course as well sometimes liability there. So this is something we can of course have a chat if you want on this, but I would say controversial. Second of the main challenges I would like to discuss about, and this is very important as well, is the dossier submission. And here you can see the process, and it's more or less an IT process, where a dossier is prepared and submitted. So on the left-hand side in industry, you have the dossier preparation and submission, meaning, all of you, of course, prepared in your legal entities the dossier in Euclid 5 format, and then you will submit it via the Reach IT website in ECHA. Then I would like to really spend some time on how this dossier is being processed in ECHA, because it helps understanding what are the main things to keep in mind. So when the dossier reaches ECHA, there is first a format check, virus, XML, Euclid. So just the fact that it is in the good IT aspect and or IT format. And then the second step is what is called the business rules check. And I won't spend, unfortunately, too much time here. There is a next slide. But I would say business rules, if you have one thing to keep in mind from my presentation, keep in mind the business rules term. This is of major importance. When this business rules check is made, then in fact, it's the fact that the dossier submitted is okay to go further in the IT automated process for what is called the technical completeness check and for the financial completeness check. So there is this automated check done in ECHA, and then if everything goes well and you pay your invoice on time, your dossier is being considered as accepted. You get your registration number, and potentially there is an evaluation step, not for all the dossier this is expected, with a compliance check, so substance ID and information submitted, and of course the analysis of the testing proposals. So I used to say it's always nice sometimes to put oneself in the other's shoes, because it helps to understand what is necessary for industry's own dossier.